Welcome to the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Hadra, marketing consultant for female founders and creator of the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. I've helped dozens of women grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and beyond, helping founders like you to implement my proven growth system that focuses on brand communication, marketing strategy, building your lean team, and leadership. On this podcast, we talk all about what it takes to get to the next level in marketing and in life, focusing on practical, tactical advice that will help you grow your business and explode your revenue. Are you ready to learn? Let's dive in. We all know how powerful AI can be, but do we really understand exactly how to use it in our business? Using it in a way that maximizes the output AI is giving us, but more importantly, delivers us something that is authentic to our brand. In the noise of AI generated copy on the internet, today's conversation is going to be invaluable. I'm talking to Kinsey Soderberg. With her brand and podcast, Authentic AI, Kinsey helps down-to-earth entrepreneurs leverage AI tools in your business without wasting your time or sacrificing your authenticity. She focuses on a human-first approach to AI that brings your brand to the forefront and helps you make AI work for you, not the other way around. She believes in using AI to get more done more quickly without sacrificing that quality that we all need to stand out and really connect with our customers. So today she's giving us her take on how to use AI effectively in your business. She gives us tons of tools and freebies on how we can kind of up our game with AI today. You're going to love this conversation with Kinsey, so let's dive in. Kinsey, hi. I'm so excited to have you on the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. Why don't we start a little bit about talking about your entrepreneurial journey, right? So now you have two businesses. I know you're kind of leaning into the new business. So tell us kind of where you've been, how you started, and a little bit about your evolution as an entrepreneur.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So, like you said, my name is Kinsey. I've been an entrepreneur for 5+ years now,
Yeah,
and
it goes fast.
yeah, it does. It's crazy, right? My journey started, I feel like so many of ours do, I was like working as a server after traveling through Asia for 6 months, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be done serving. Like I am grumpy. I'm turning into like grumpy old lady server
Yes,
who like
yes,
doesn't want to get
yes,
you your
yes.
hot sauce.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, that restaurant owner ended up hiring me to help her with blogging and social media management. I started gaining clients through word of mouth. And I was like, okay, I guess I better make this business thing legit. Right. So
Yeah.
then I really started diving into, okay, if I'm going to go for this thing, how am I going to do this? How I'm going to grow this business, gain clients, grow an agency model for social media marketing, like we were chatting
Yeah.
about before we hit record.
Yeah.
And it took about a year for me to fully realize who my brand is and what I actually wanted to do, right? When I
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
started, I was, of course, sponging up all the knowledge online. I was seeing all these big name entrepreneurs and how they were showing up and thinking, oh, this is how I need to show up, right?
Mm.
Listening to their advice and being like, I guess this is the advice that I need to be sharing too,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it took me about a year for me to realize, oh my gosh, I hate showing up as someone else all the
Yes.
time. It was
Yes. Yes.
exhausting for
Yes.
me. It didn't feel like there was a misalignment, there, and it
Mhm.
didn't feel right to me. And also just like thinking about the advice that I wanted to share, the advice that I believed in, it didn't necessarily align with everyone else's advice that I was hearing online, right? So I made that conscious decision to shift into showing up as who I truly am, and really sharing advice that I believe in, that I have taken action on, that I think is helpful for the people I was trying to reach. And that's when my first brand, Feel Good Social, was born, so to
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And Feel Good Social is all about, my little tagline is, I help down to earth solopreneurs show up online in a way that feels good to you without wasting your time or
Yes.
selling your soul. So that's kind
Yes.
of our angle, to business, to the advice we share, to how we show up online, all that different stuff. And then about a year and a half ago now, I started hearing about the AI craze, the AI phenomenon. Everyone in the online world was like, "Oh, have you used ChatGPT? Oh, have you tried this AI tool?" And I'll be honest with you, when I first started hearing about AI tools, I was a total curmudgeon about it. Like, I
Yes.
laugh. I always think of like that Mr. Wilson grumpy neighbor from
Yes.
Dennis the
Yes. Dennis the
Menace.
Menace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's who I was. I was like,
Yeah.
ugh, shaking my fist at the
Yeah.
sky, being like, isn't the internet fake enough as it
Yes.
is? What's
Yes.
this going to do to our creativity or critical
Yes.
thinking skills? Are robots going to take our jobs or take over the
Yeah.
world? Like all of those AI scaries ran through my mind. And then I was on this long drive mulling things over, and I had one of those long drive epiphanies where I realized, AI tools are here. And instead of turning away from them, the best thing I can do is turn toward them and get curious about
Mm.
how can we use these tools to work for us in a way that aligns with us, right? So
Yeah.
that's when my sister brand, Authentic AI, was born. And really, we focus on, approachable tips to using AI in your business. And we really focus on how we can use these tools to boost our productivity without sacrificing our authenticity or
Mm.
quality of work, because that's just one of those things that's been so true, like close to my soul, since I started my business and my brands. And honestly, what I found out when I started using these tools and getting my hands dirty with them is
Yeah.
that there are totally ways that we can use these tools to save ourselves time without sacrificing your brand's uniqueness, right? Without turning your brand into a robot. And it really is easy to use these tools. There's just like little extra tips that you need to do or things that you need to do to make sure that you are using them without, making your brand more generic, which is not what we
Hmm.
want, right? So,
Hmm.
okay, so I have to share this with you too, because I
Yeah.
did the math in a nerdy way. I found out that since starting to use AI tools, I've actually been saving 3 hours a week, 15 hours, or sorry, 3 hours a day, 15 hours
Yeah.
a week, and 70 hours a month with these
Yeah.
tools.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I've now been able to grow two brands at the same time, grow two podcasts at the same
Yes.
time,
Yes.
with feeling less stress, less
Yeah.
overwhelm, less drain than when I
Yeah.
was just growing my one brand, like
Yes.
2 years ago. So I'm excited to chat about all the things with you.
Yeah. Well, okay. So give us a little bit of the nitty gritty of authentic AI. So what is authentic AI? Is it like is it a bot? What is it?
Yeah, yeah. Authentic AI is my brand, and we offer like very actionable, approachable like courses and training methods and tips and tools and different things to help entrepreneurs use these tools in a way
Uh-huh.
that aligns with your brand, right? So we teach what we call a human first approach to AI tools. A lot of the AI experts online, you'll hear people saying like, "Here's my 100 prompts that you can use
Yes,
with
yes, 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 yes.
ChatGPT,"
Okay, okay.
and like it ends up getting you really generic results because like they're not necessarily teaching you how to work with these tools, how to train these tools on your
Yes,
brand, right? So
yes, yes.
one of my like signature things that I swear by, I call it the brand blueprint for
Mhm.
ChatGPT. And literally, okay, I don't want to scare you guys, but it's this like 80-page document that ChatGPT helps me create. Okay.
Yeah.
It can help you create these brand blueprints for you, but it dives deep into the 5 core strategies of your brand, outlining all the different facets of your brand into one document that then you can use to train your AI assistant on your
Oh.
brand super easily with one click in less than 5 seconds. And like literally, this like tool, like the responses are night and day. Like if you just use ChatGPT from the get-go, and like I know that feeling of feeling frustrated that because
Yeah.
it's not giving you what you want,
Yes.
a feeling like you
Yes.
could have
And
done
it
it
sounds
faster.
so yuck. Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a yeah, okay. I love well, this is so interesting. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that because one thing that I've heard that is useful is okay, trying to get, I know that you can upload PDFs into ChatGPT,
Mhm.
and I've heard people say like, oh, upload like sample text and just like have it right in your voice. You're going like a whole step deeper where you're like, well, let's give the bot a whole context into your brand, which is so smart
Mhm.
and sort of being able to, because I think that's the next skill that everyone's going to have to learn is like, how do we interact with ChatGPT?
Mhm.
Because again, it's all about what the inputs are. And I think there are a lot of mixed messages. So if you were talking to a founder that's like, I really want to, I know my team's using ChatGPT, because this is, I think, what a lot of people experience. I know my teams are using ChatGPT, especially if you have like virtual assistants that are doing social posts, like maybe English is not their first language, or you just, I mean, nowadays, I think everyone uses ChatGPT for everything, and you can tell and you just feel like the quality isn't there. What would be the first step? So you would say maybe doing this 80-page document and sort of you helped prompt people through creating that. Is that part of what you do?
Yeah, yes. I'm gonna geek out because if you can't tell, I love getting to the
Yes.
core of people's
Yeah.
brands. So,
Yes.
okay, let me dish it up for you. So, yeah, so the brand blueprint document, ChatGPT can help you create this document. And yeah, in my brand blueprint course, I offer the different prompts that you can use to have ChatGPT help you create
Yes.
this. From
Yes.
my students, I've heard it takes usually about 4 hours to work
Okay.
through and create this brand blueprint document because we want to make sure that like it's good to go for your brand and it's this perfect reflection of your brand, right? But basically, we're outlining the 5 core strategies of your brand. So that means your brand's core identity, your mission, vision, values, opinions, beliefs, everything that makes your
Mm-hmm.
brand who it is. The
Yeah.
second strategy is your ideal customers because ChatGPT needs to understand who we're speaking to. We all
Yeah.
know this, right? So, yeah, going deeper than the demographics, the lifestyle, the values, that as well, but also, the pain points, the
Mm-hmm.
desires, how you help people, who you are to your ideal customers, the relationship that you have. Also, the third strategy, of course, is your brand voice and writing style, which as a nerd, as a word nerd, I definitely geek out about this part because it goes so much deeper than just like write in a friendly tone. Like
Right.
your brand is not that basic, you guys. Like, firstly, there's such a spectrum of words that we can use to really pinpoint our brand's tone of voice. If you think about friendly, it could be kind-hearted, or it could be bubbly, or it could be
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. So really finding the right temperature of words to describe your brand's voice, but then also exactly feeding it examples of your copy so that it can analyze the copy and perfectly replicate it for you. That is included in the brand blueprint. So ChatGPT can always analyze that and come back to that.
Yeah.
But also analyzing your writing style, your brand archetype, your humor style, emoji
Yes.
usage,
Oh,
and
I
formatting.
love
Oh
this.
my gosh,
This
I
is
know. I geek
amazing.
out about it. And that's
Yeah.
only the third strategy, right? So then on top of that, we also outline your offer suite from your
Mm-hmm.
freebies to your main core
Yeah.
signature
Yeah.
offers, because that allows ChatGPT to help you strategize for your business just from the get-go, understand what your business looks like and how we can lead your customers to your offers. And then finally, we also outline your brand's core messaging because we really want to make sure that every piece of content you create is through the filter of that core message that you want to spread as a
Yeah.
brand. So once you outline all of this stuff into your one main brand blueprint, it's awesome because you could give this blueprint to like your team, or your
Yes.
new assistants and be like, take a look at this because this is my brand.
Yeah.
But also, like you can use the file upload feature in ChatGPT with the free version or the paid version and just train a new chat window in one click. It will read that document
Oh,
in like 10 seconds.
yes.
And
I love this.
the results are crazy. Like ChatGPT understands it. It can then immediately like replicate what you need. And then the cool thing too is that working with teams, you can teach them how to use your brand blueprint to train ChatGPT. And or if you have the paid version of ChatGPT, you can actually create a custom GPT, a custom chat bot that then you could just, it's already trained on your brand. You can just
Right.
share that bot with your team. They don't even have to
Yeah.
worry about training it
Okay.
on your
Yeah,
brand,
that
right?
was kind of what my next question was, is like operationalizing it. Because I think one of the problems, and like obviously I'm a marketer, so I'm picking up all of these pieces that you're saying, right? And I think that the way that I've used ChatGPT is sort of incorporating these things that you're saying, but in a very disparate way. And it
Mhm.
is kind of frustrating because it's like, okay, I'm opening up a new chat, or am I own, I know it has
Mhm.
memory, but then it's kind of hard to organize. So it sounds like clearing, like prioritizing doing this. And I would imagine this is best to do with the owner, the founder. It doesn't sound like it's something you can just pass to an EA or pass to your marketing manager. maybe they can get it started, but probably really worthwhile to really review it together and really build it together so you know that it's very solid. From there, though, practically speaking, do you use, okay, actually, I want to know your opinion. Do you feel like any of the chatbot software is any like better or worse than others? Because you're saying ChatGPT, is that the one that you prefer to use? Because there's like Cloud and Jasper and all these ones. I feel like I've tested a couple different ones and I'm hard pressed to see if there's any one better than the other.
Oh, I love this question because it's hilarious. I know that exact feeling. It's like, oh my gosh, there are so many tools. Like in general, most of the tools are very similar, guys.
Right.
And they're
Right.
all updating all the time. They're all in competition with each other all the time, right? And like they're all getting better and also changing their features. And also like 1 week Claude will be better, 1 week
Right.
ChatGPT
Ah,
will be
that's
better.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's like but it's all kind of noise, right? This I actually my past life in social media marketing prepared me for this moment because you know when you're like
Uh-huh.
you're listening to all the tips with social media marketing and you're like is this gonna matter next week? Like I had to have a
Yes.
reckoning with myself with social media where I'm like, I don't really care about that hashtag tip because like next week it's gonna change, right? So the same thing I've been using with AI tools. I go my ChatGPT is my go-to because I feel like I have the most control. It's the free version is really awesome. You can use the free version for anything, really, for all the features. But then also, if you want to pay for it and create your own custom chatbots and stuff, it's only $20 a month. It's not
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah.
And like, so I always recommend ChatGPT, but I also say, if it's not giving you what you want, if it's not working for you, go ahead and try Claude, go ahead and try Gemini.
Mhm.
Jasper, I've heard like iffy things because people have been telling me that it's like more expensive and like,
Yes.
at
Yeah,
this
it's like
point.
40 something I remember. I mean, it could have changed,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, but like, the tool doesn't necessarily matter as much as like understanding what you need, how you want to use these tools, and how to get what you want from these
From
tools,
it.
right?
So the other thing, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest challenges, and you as a social media expert, I think is the perfect person to ask. So a lot of the teams that I work with, like the founders that I work with in their teams, one of the biggest gap I see in using chat GPT or similar to create, let's say, social post content, right? The social post copy is I have not found, and this could be the prompt, but I have not found great hook generation. That's like the one part I think is like the blind spot. It's like, yeah, the text just, because hooks are so, it's like it's the most important thing.
Mhm.
And yet it's the one thing that I feel is lacking the most in especially the social post copy that's created. Any
Mhm.
ideas there or anything you any input?
Oh yeah, lady. You
Yeah.
asked the perfect
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
literally for me because exactly. Okay, so as a self-proclaimed word nerd, I love writing. I'm proud of the way I write. I think I do a pretty
Right.
good job. And
Yeah.
also, it used to take me for freaking ever. Like I would
Yeah.
write like a social media caption, it would take me like 60 minutes because I would
Yeah.
labor over every word.
Yes. Yeah.
But on the back end of that, like when it comes to writing social media content, with my background as a social media person, like I generally know what I'm looking for already, right?
Mm.
Like I know what I want that hook to look like ish, and I kind of know how I want the caption to flow, like starting with that attention grabbing question, leading into empathizing with the problem,
Yeah.
the big aha moment, sharing a hot tip, and then ending with a call to action. Like I know how I want these captions to go, but it takes me a long time to write them. But then when it came to using ChatGPT, like you said, like if I would just go to ChatGPT and be like, write me a social media caption, it'd be like the cheesiest thing in the
Yes,
world because it
exactly.
thinks social media is so cheesy. I'm like, ugh, this is horrible, right? So I use, especially when it comes to writing, emails, social media content, blog posts, whatever it is, I tend to use formula prompts, what I call formula
Oh,
prompts, and
interesting.
or the next level of fill in the blank prompts,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
So literally a formula prompt is instead of going to ChatGPT and be like, write me a social media caption. And then it writes you something. You're like, oh, this isn't what I want. Rewrite it in this way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I want. And like, you're going back and
And you
forth,
keep, yeah, and
pulling
it never
teeth.
feels right.
And
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, this is so annoying. I wasted a bunch of time. I could have done it faster myself. Instead of that, you go to ChatGPT, you're like, write me a social media caption about this topic. Here are my thoughts and opinions of perspective on this topic. Here are tips I want you to include. Here's the call to action I want you to lead it to, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then for the caption, if you know kind of the structure, you could say something like, when you're writing the caption, start with that attention grabbing question, lead into empathizing with the problem, blah, blah, blah. Or for social media captions, especially, I actually just do fill in the blanks. So in between quotation marks, I'll say, are you struggling with blank? I get it, blah, 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 blank, blank, blank. Like I'll fill in some words. That was kind of a cheesy example, but
but I
like,
get your point.
Yeah. So it's like literally you start writing the caption and you just like have blanks that it can fill in based on the topic and the perspective and all the different stuff. And oh my gosh, like literally within 5 minutes, it can write something that actually sounds like you. And especially if you do train it on your brand voice already, that is like how you quickly get what you want. And I actually have a freebie Reels prompt playbook for ChatGPT where I literally like have
we need
captions.
That. Where do we
stuff.
grab that? Where do we grab that? Yeah.
That's DIY with .ai/reels if you want to try out these formula captions.
I love it.
And then you can like see how they look too,
Okay, wait, say that URL again. DIY
with .ai/reels. Yep.
Okay, I love that. Okay, we will put that in the caption so everyone can grab that because that's huge. So how else might founders utilize authentic AI sort of to help their teams go faster and pump out better quality stuff? So we were going to create this playbook. Any other tools that you have for teams?
Yeah, I mean, I really recommend when it comes to working with teams and especially with AI tools, like it's so funny because I have my Authentic AI podcast, and this is something I've asked a lot of guests that I've interviewed is like, how do you help your teams work better with AI tools? And a lot of times they're like, well, we've just been encouraging them to use them.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
But like, how do they know how to use them? How do they know what you're looking for or what's okay and what's not okay? Like, firstly, I, for CEOs and like the higher level business people, I recommend that you sit yourself and create guidelines for using AI tools and also resources to help your team understand how to use them in the best way. So always be sure that you're training the chat window with my brand blueprint, or using the custom chatbot that I have. Also just teaching them basic prompting practices, making sure that you're setting the guideline for doing this stuff at the beginning, but then also at the end, always making sure that you are just giving whatever ChatGPT writes for you a once over. Like we always need to run it through the filter of our brand on the back end to make sure that it sounds good. And giving them those guidelines so that they know how to work with these tools for your brand in the way that is up to your standards still, right? So there's that. Okay. Yeah.
This sounds to me like an SOP. It sounds like if you put in the work of understand, like one of my big sayings that I love to repeat is, with all of these things of marketing, you need to understand enough to give it away, right? It's like whether it's social media, whether it's right, like blogging and website or whatever, you need to understand the basics to give it away. And it sounds like if we made a goal for ourselves as business owners to just dedicate, and maybe it's going to take you a week, maybe a couple days to put together your guidelines, to create a standard operating procedure document that you can train, like with best practices, listening to your podcast, getting all of your resources so we know how to instruct our teams. It sounds like that's going to save us tons of money probably and time, energy, and effort in the future if we put kind of this upfront work. Because that's, I think, the beauty of AI, where if it's set up properly, it can be this amazing tool where many of us, like for example, and for the founders that I work with, they'll get some regurgitated AI content to them. And then actually it ends up taking them so much longer to edit it, especially if they have teams that English is not their first language, which a lot of us do, right? we have people working for us all over the world, right? And it's often really frustrating, especially for busy founders where it's like, well, we're already wearing 1,000 hats and maybe we don't even feel that strong as a writer ourselves. The other thing that I have to say I've seen in the marketplace, especially in the past, I don't know, I would say the past year, is in terms of marketing messaging. I feel like since there's so much AI content being churned out, that it's becoming more and more important. Like the ones that are doing content copywriting well and and connecting those messages in the moment that's going to connect with their clients. Like this is the piece that I think a lot of folks are struggling with. Why? Because we're having AI create our ad copy. We're having create our landing pages copy. But they're not, these tools are not trained specifically to give us that, the differentiation, to have the context and all the stuff. So we're making the words quickly. But I think I've seen an overwhelming amount of folks saying, okay, we're making these words quickly, or we're making these things quickly, but they're not effective. Right. And so, and that becomes, especially when we look at marketing strategy, I always say, it's always these like 10-degree shifts that's going to help open the gates to conversions, to sales. And this 10-degree shift is more times than not the words you're using. So it is incredibly important. And we don't want to, a lot of us are just like cutting corners. And by the way, even if we're paying copywriters nowadays, they're also using, right? So that's why I think it's like the ones of us that take ownership over the process, like you're saying, I think are the ones that are going to win, right?
Yeah. It's using this as a collaborative tool to help you along in the process and not expecting this
Yeah,
to do all of the work for you. That's
exactly.
how I have found like the best results. And I will say, like, exactly. Okay, so the brand blueprint document takes about 4 hours to work through the whole thing. I will say that for people like you who have teams who maybe they want to do part of it, but then they want their assistant to actually create the document. The first part that really is you downloading about your brand takes about an hour. And then the rest of it is working through AI prompts to help you expand and solidify those ideas about your brand. But literally, it doesn't take that long. And then you have this crazy document where literally it can understand you, your brand, and nail your personality. Like, I'm very, very proud of the fact that my ChatGPT, every time I ask it to write an email for my email list, the subject line does not have a colon in it. Like
Yeah.
having a colon in your subject line is a freaking straight up AI
Yes.
telltale, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
mine never does because I've trained it on my brand. I'm like, guys, this is possible. Okay.
Yes. Yes. It does. Well, it's so funny because I have to say, like, more than once, I've had situations where, social media managers will be just cutting and pasting from the AI tool and be putting in like the copy that's going to be proofed, something like subject line colon. And it's kind of like, or like body one colon, like things that are so obvious, like just something that the chat turned out. So I think the bigger philosophical thing here is that, like, if you can't beat it, join it. Just like your long car ride epiphany, if you can't beat it, join it. But the ones that are, again, saying it again, the ones that are going to do it right are going to win. And you're going to be able to get that quality. But I'm sure our children will all be understanding how to prompt AI tools. This is going to be part of like the curriculum. It's going to be something that becomes second nature. But all of us now are so new on what's going on. And it's only become, I think, really apparent that we all have to understand this culture of how to input.
Mhm.
And all of that is not, and I think we beat ourselves up maybe because we think we should know it already, but like, how would we, right? How
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
we?
Can I share a little bit of something that I think will be really, really powerful for your audience too,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Because here's the thing too. The AI world is evolving right now. Like it's happening and like it truly is up to us if we care about authenticity, quality of content. And I truly that's why I'm like shouting from the rooftops how to use these tools without turning ourselves into robots because that will
Right.
happen if we don't, you know, understand these things now, right? So you said about the children learning, how to use these tools and stuff. Well, I want that curriculum in the future to include an understanding of critical thinking skills, your own creativity, having agency in using these tools as collaborative partners instead of the generic prompts that all the bro brands are spouting about, right? And here's
Right.
the thing too. Okay, so this is something that was brought to my attention by Dr. Nikki Sweeney out of Australia, actually, and she did a TED talk about this recently. But there's a huge gender gap in the usage of AI tools. And this is something that we
Yeah.
need to talk about, share, encourage, spread as powerful CEOs and women in these spaces, right? So there's been studies done that men are 2 times more likely to use the top 50 AI tools than women. And
Mm.
this is a problem because, I mean, firstly, there is the gender income gap already, right? And
Yeah.
if you think about more men using AI tools than women, then who's going to be more likely to get that promotion, right? Who's going to be more likely to get that pay raise? Because it's also been studied that AI tools can boost your productivity by up to 40%. That's like working 2 extra days per week, right?
Mhm.
So if more men are using these than women, that's an issue for us, right? And then also on the other side of that coin, at this point, the way AI tools are trained is by the user input, right?
Yeah.
So if more men are using these tools than women, then more bro language is going
Yes.
into these tools,
Yes.
just
Yes.
gonna put it out there.
Yes.
And we need our feminine energy represented in these tools. We need our authenticity, our uniqueness to be put into these tools in order to be represented in future models. And here's the thing that always like gets me. Like this fires me up, right? Is not necessarily the fact that more men are using these tools than women, but why that's happening, right? And of course, there's the cultural issue of like women haven't always felt, welcome in STEM subjects. We've kind of been raised culturally to not feel as techie as men necessarily.
Mhm.
There's, way more men in tech industry and the AI industry behind the scenes like than women, right? But also I still remember the first time a woman was interviewing me for her podcast, and she looked at me and she was like, "So, what do you say to the women who feel guilty for using these tools, who feel like they're cutting corners or they're not doing the work?" Right. And I was like, oh, this is a thing, right? And it is
Yes.
so much bigger than AI, right?
Yes.
It's just how our culture is, where women do need to care more about their authenticity and how they show up in the world in order to be respected. They do need to do the work, show that they're doing the work in order to be respected, right? Why is it that when men do things like use AI tools or whatever, it's innovative, it's productive, it's delegating,
Yes.
and when
Oh, this is so
women
good.
use AI
Yeah.
tools, it feels to us like, people don't necessarily put this on us, but it's culture in general where we're like, oh my gosh, this feels like I'm not doing the work. I feel guilty. I'm cutting corners, right? So it's like an internal shift that we need to make ourselves, that we need to share with each other. Yes, we can use these tools. They are a tool to help us boost our productivity, and we should not feel guilty about using them. And there's also a way that we can use these tools and still show up in our feminine power and like in our authenticity and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right? So, um, I just like love to share this, especially when I'm on podcasts with a lot of women listeners, is
Yes.
guys, let's use these tools. Let's
Mhm.
encourage each other. Let's share with each other that, yeah, there's this like mental thing that we need to shift within ourselves. And not only do we need to use these tools to like help us, decrease that gender income gap instead of making it way bigger, but also because we want to be represented in these tools,
Yeah.
right? So use these
100%.
tools, put your own ideas, thoughts into them because we need you.
100%. When you were saying that, I was like, oh, that sounds ridiculous. People feeling bad that they cut corners. But I have to say, I think I've also struggled with that a little bit.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that this idea that we have to, right, put in the time, put in the work, like, and and honestly, I think the other thing that you said that sparked me is, I think if we understand the way that we prompt and we put inputs, this is going to be the evolution of creativity. I think
Mhm.
that if we are able to put our own unique spin, our own unique angle or perspective into the way that we're prompting AI, that is going to solve this authenticity issue, because it's going to allow the AI for us to shine through it. And it's doing nothing more than just helping us move faster. But also, I think, that is going to be some significant work. I do think like getting very good at, synthesizing your ideas and using the tool, it's going to become kind of like an art in and of itself. So the last question I want to leave us with is, we are sort of in this moment where I think AI in the past year and a half, 2 years, it's just like lightning speed has just exploded. What do you see in the next 2 to 5 years really changing with AI? Because you're in this world.
Oh goodness, a lot. Like literally this stuff does change all the time. And like crazy things are happening like at lightning speed, right? People compare this to AI to the internet, right? And what we have to understand is, yes, this is life-changing. This is here. I still remember like a year ago when people were calling AI a fad. I'm like, no, guys, no, this is the internet reincarnate and at like
Yes.
20x the speed, 100x the speed, right? Because if you think about like the internet took years to like come into people's households and then develop and blah 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 and whatever. AI is like happening in such a smaller period of time and progressing way faster than that, right? So realizing that this is here to stay, don't let that scare you, that things are changing so much so quickly. Like you can start dabbling in these tools right now so that you can slowly start to evolve with these tools instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy like amount of stuff that I need to learn, right? And then what's coming next for AI tools? I mean, okay, so the next big thing is called AGI, which I'm like saying that I'm forgetting what artificial general intelligence. That's what it is. Artificial general intelligence. So right now, the general AI tools that you hear about, ChatGPT, Claude, all that different stuff, they're called large language models. This is getting super nerdy with it. But basically, they have to be trained, right? These models right now have to be trained on lots and lots of information, but they are trained, right? Whereas AGI is like the shiny object that all these crazy AI people are going for. And they're like, who's going to be the first to unlock it, right? And AGI is basically going to be like a robot with the ability to think and learn for itself in real time.
Interesting.
So it is like the future.
That's the future.
The smart
That's when
house
robots
stuff,
take over.
I know. And I actually interviewed, I had a really interesting conversation with an AGI guy, right? He's been going for AGI for 20 years now, he said, and stuff. And I did ask him, I was like, what are your thoughts about the concerns that people have with the Terminator future, robots taking over the Matrix, right? And he was like, I think that we are thinking of AI tools from the human perspective, which is really, really interesting to me to think about. Humans, we have dark sides, right? Like we put that onto our AI assistants and thinks, oh my gosh, like AI has a dark side too. Could AI be used for bad things? Yes, but is it inherently like, does it inherently have a bad side? No, it's inherently neutral.
It's
like
a tool. Like listen, like money, right? Like money is, again, it's how we use it, and it doesn't, again, have an inherent value as good or bad. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. All right, well, that's a great place to stop. Kinsey, this has been, I think, one of my favorite conversations. I think that you're really, I love authentic AI. I think that it's so needed. So just so you can repeat again. So the URL, if everyone's just like, I'm going to go do that 80-page document with my team tomorrow, we can go to, what's the URL?
So that one is DIY with .ai/blueprint. So DIYWITH .ai.
Okay. All these links below, don't worry. And then the prompts that you mentioned is on a different URL, no?
Yeah, that's DIY with .ai/reels. Or if you want to find all these things, just DIY with .ai.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. And hopefully we can have you back in a year or so and we can talk about all of the things that have changed with AI and how you're helping people utilize it better and better and make it feel more human. Thank you
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh. Thank you so much. I've loved our combo.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for sticking around with me and listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate you as an audience member, and I hope that you found this helpful. If you did like this episode, it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, if you rate and review this podcast. It helps other people know that this podcast has something worth saying. It also would be super awesome if you could take a screenshot and share on Instagram and tag me at Ugly Ventures, UGLI Ventures, VENTURES. I am always so appreciative to hear from you, and I hope to see you back here next week